welcome back to the Dolphins Country podcast. And today we will be reacting to the game that we just watched here on Thursday Night Football between the Dolphins and the Bills. Week 3, Buffalo won it 31-21. Another competitive game in Orchard Park, another moral loss that the Dolphins will take to them into this mini bye. Before we dive in, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube or Spotify. We are streaming at Dolphins Country Pod, both on YouTube and Spotify, whichever one you prefer. But without further ado, let's get into it. So again, the Dolphins lose to Buffalo in Orchard Park for the 10th year in a row. They have not won there since 2016. So next year will be the 10-year anniversary, I guess. If they'll have an 11th chance to break that streak, unless they play in the playoffs this year in Buffalo, which I don't think is going to happen. But nonetheless, they lose again in Orchard Park. And overall, I'm not going to focus too much on the bad stuff because they gave a pretty damn good effort tonight. I think we all expected them to get blown out of the water. I know I did. That being said, there is a pattern with the Dolphins against Buffalo. They always play them close once, and then they play them really bad the other time. So every time they play Buffalo, one game is competitive, the other game we get housed. It was nice to say that on primetime this is the competitive game. So that was obviously nice to see. But it was similar to last year. And we almost actually had an exact rerun of last year's game in Buffalo, ironically enough. The Dolphins are on a losing streak. They've lost 2 in a row. Everyone's fighting for their jobs. Very similar last year. We were 2-5 heading up to Buffalo. No one gave us a chance in hell at winning that game. And we put up a really nice effort. We tied it up at 27, I believe, late in the game. And, of course, we gave Allen 90 seconds to go down and kick a game-winning field goal. Similar in that game to this game, there was a boneheaded play made by a defensive player from Miami that gave them 15 extra yards, got them in field goal range. Last year, that was Jordan Poyer. This year, that was Zach Sealer on what would have ended the drive. Both of them would have ended the drive. Poyer's, that was an incomplete pass on third down. We would have got the ball back last year, won the game. This year, tie game, we would have got the ball back. Again, chance to win the game. But Sealer commits the roughing the punter penalty on fourth down, literally on fourth down. So we got him off the field. I'll get into the defense because they actually stepped up in the second half. That was nice to see them stepping up in the second half. But let's just get into Tua because I know he's already a big target. The Dolphins fans at this point have turned on him. He throws a pick at the end of the game. He threw a pick at the end of the game last week against New England. Everyone's like, oh, Tua lost us the game. Tua did not lose us the game, obviously. I thought he was pretty fantastic. All things, I know he only threw for 140 yards, whatever it was, but I don't care about any of that. I don't care about the stats really. Although, I mean, if you want to talk about stats, the Dolphins' offense today was good enough to win the game. They were 10 of 15 on third down on the road in Buffalo. That should be good enough to win a game. When you sustain drives, when you have third down 15 times and you convert 10 times on third down, you're sustaining drives. You saw it at the end of the first half where he was able to complete third downs, convert third downs out of structure. One of them using his legs, the other 2 times finding Tyreek out of structure. He had a couple big third down completions to Waddle again in the second half, similar to last year when he found Waddle on third down a lot here in the second half in Buffalo. So I thought Tua played well enough on third down to sustain these drives, make it competitive. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're playing a team that's better than us. That's just the bottom line. It's not that complicated. Everyone keeps asking me, what's the problem with the team? What's the problem with the team? The problem is we're not that good. There's no singular fix for this team that's oh, you can just wave a magic wand and here's the fix. Here's the problem. Tua is not the problem with the team. Contrary to popular belief. I don't know why people think that. He was solid tonight. If he was perfect, we still lose the game. I don't care about the pick on the last drive. I'm not going to, not blame him because, he threw a pick, whatever it is. I just don't care. I don't care that he threw a pick on the last drive. It doesn't matter to me. Had he scored a touchdown, guess what? We still lose the game. It just doesn't matter to me. Last year, again, he goes down there and scored a touchdown and ties it up at 27 with a minute and a half to go. Guess what? We still lose. At the end of the day, you're facing Josh Allen on the other side, who is great against this team. I mean, really, we have no answers for this guy. In years past, young Josh Allen, we were able to blitz him. Brian Flores was able to kind of make him a little bit confused with those cover zero blitzes when he had Josh Boyer and those guys. You just can't blitz Josh Allen anymore. He's just too good. And we also don't have the secondary to hold up if we blitz. We don't usually in years past when the Dolphins actually had corners like Xavier Howard, all pro, Jalen Ramsey, all pro. You can dial up these blitzes because you trust your guys in the back end in man-to-man to hold up long enough. We don't trust our guys in the back. And why would we? Our corner room is so thin. We don't have the secondary to even combat this. So we can't really blitz because you don't trust your secondary in the back end. You kind of need to get there with 4. We can't get there with 4. Josh Allen is just too good. There's no real stopping this team. Although in the second half, we put together, we forced 3 punts, although on the third punt, we roughed them. So we got 2 stops really the whole game. And I guess the Prater misses the field goal, but the Buffalo could easily score. They scored 31. They could easily scored 40. It is what it is. Ultimately, the defense was terrible in the first half. They buckled up in the second half, made it a game. there were certainly missed opportunities on offense. I want to talk about Ollie Gordon, though. Ollie Gordon, man, the Dolphins might have found something. Like, again, I'm not into moral losses. I don't care. At the end of the day, a loss is a loss. And I knew we'd lose in Orchard Park. The only question was, would we be competitive? And the answer was we were. Nonetheless, it was still going to be. It was no. We were never winning that game. It doesn't. After Zach Sealer did what he did and roughed the punter, that game no longer became winnable. Did not matter what Tua did on the last drive. He could have scored. We still would have lost. Sealer, that play ended the game in effect. Similar to the Poyer one last year, ended the game. But to get to Ollie Gordon, the Dolphins might have found something here. I mean, to get into this moral loss thing, the Dolphins have been so bad in short yard situations. Not tonight, they weren't. Tonight on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, 2nd and goal, 1st and goal, 3rd and goal. In short yard situations, the Dolphins would line up and run in between the tackles. It's something I've been hoping. I'm like, guys, you keep talking about being physical. You run midline last year all the time. You were doing sweeps and screens and swing passes. In short yardage, the Dolphins decided, hey, we have a guy, Ollie Gordon, 200-something pounds. We're going to hand the ball off to him and run in between the tackles. That is how you convert short yardage. And Miami finally is doing that, which is really nice to see. And, man, Ollie Gordon, again, Jalen Wright's not healthy right now. I don't think it matters if he is healthy because I think this is Ollie Gordon, man. I just think he's, special. I think he's a really good player. Because, I mean, you saw it in the first 3 quarters, I believe Achane and Ollie Gordon had the same amount of touches. Not the same amount of touches, same amount of carries, because obviously Achane gets a lot of touches in the receiving game. Nonetheless, the workload was pretty split as far as Ollie Gordon and Devon Achane as far as running the football is concerned. And I didn't hate that. I think that's exactly how it should be. You should be using Achane and Ollie Gordon similarly as running backs. Achane obviously is an unbelievable receiver. So you can, of course, use him in that way as well. But, man, I just think Ollie Gordon, even when Jalen Wright comes back, I think this needs to be Ollie Gordon, short yardage situation, get him the ball, and watch him just go downhill. Because he's a downhill runner. We keep stressing this. We need downhill running game in this offense with the speed. You need a little bit of balance in short yardage so that it's not just speed, get to the edge. How about run downhill on short yardage and get a yard? It's the closest way to get a first down is running right at the middle. Run right behind your interior offensive line with a big back and just move people off the ball. I'm going to give credit to the offensive line as well because the offensive line played really well tonight. Heavily scrutinized last week, of course. I thought Dan Brunskill was the difference of the game. Not the difference of the game, but the difference in the O-line play. He comes in. He's an actual guard. I mentioned on the last episode, Keon Smith is playing guard, but he's not actually a guard. Him and Larry Bourne on that right side actually held up pretty nicely. They were moving people in the run game. They were moving people off the ball. It was really impressive to see. Patrick Paul, there was a few plays on. I mean, I'm not even gonna get on Patrick Paul here because some of those plays we had him in space. It's just a tough ask. I mean, we run a lot of screens. They run a ton of screens. It's just mind numbing because they're not very good at it. Like Tampa Bay runs a lot of screens. They're a fantastic screen team. We are not really. Our guys in space just are it's just tough for Patrick Paul. He's a big guy to move in space like that. He was late getting over to one of the screens on Waddle. They blew it up, lost a 3. Aaron Brewer, same thing. He was really good at that last year. This year, he just looks a touch slower. I know he had the hip injury last year, I believe it was. He was grabbing that hip, I think, late in the game tonight. He's just been off to a slow start. Then Savaianaya picks up a huge – I don't know why. Every time we do this RPO stuff, which we haven't done it as much as we have in years past, our offensive linemen always seem to be leaking downfield. The amount of time that we get called for flags for linemen illegally downfield is unbelievable. I mean, it's ridiculous. So Savaianaya picked up the brutal penalty on that 13-yard rumble by, of all people, Julian Hill. That was a big play. We ended up, coming back from it anyways because we got the 4th down conversion later in the drive. But nonetheless, it set up behind the sticks. It set us behind the sticks on what was a nice, little RPO from Tua to Julian Hill. So today it was the left side of the offensive line. That was a little bit, worse than the right side. And the right side is both backups. Nonetheless, I thought the O-line overall, I'm going to give them credit because we were moving Buffalo off the ball in the run game, which is really impressive. I know Buffalo has gotten run on this year for sure. You saw what Baltimore did to them in week 1, obviously. So you can run on Buffalo. I was just surprised that we did because we haven't really, shown the ability to do that. That being said, Buffalo is a team that you can run on, and they did it pretty effectively tonight. And again, I want to give credit to Tua. I thought he was really good on 3rd down, getting the ball to Tyree, getting the ball to Waddle. There's not much else outside of those two right now. Malik Washington had a few nice plays, but right now the offense is pretty much just those guys. We still have yet to hear from Nick Westbrook-Akine. The tight ends just don't catch balls. I think Julian Hill had 1 catch tonight. He would have had 2 had it not been for the penalty on Savaianaya, but the tight ends just aren't involved in the offense at all. It's basically 2023 rerun. Remember that? Remember 2023? We went into that field. that season with Durham Smythe as a blocking tight end. And we really had, I don't think we got a single, no, that 2023 was the year we actually did not get a single touchdown from the tight end position that entire season. And we were the number one team. We were actually the number one offense that year. That is not going to happen this year, of course, but they're basically doing a rerun of 2023 where they get no production from the tight end position. Obviously, last year we got unbelievable production from the tight end position, being Jonnu Smith. So that's obviously different this year. But shout out Tyreek. He stepped up big time. He did drop that one ball, but it was a tough catch. It was going to be a tough catch to make. It was two Bills guys right there. It was essentially just a prayer on 3rd and 11 or whatever it was from Tua, but he chucked it up downfield. Tyreek was down there. He actually had a good chance to maybe come back and get that ball. But there was two guys there, so I'm not going to blame him for that. But Tyreek stepped up big time, had some nice plays. He was cooking Christian Benford all night long. I mean, guy was holding him at the line of scrimmage. He was holding him past 5 yards. Tyreek, it didn't matter. Tyreek was getting open. He did fall down on one of the plays on what could have been a big conversion there on 2nd and long. Wasn't, but he cooked him on a touchdown. I mean, that route that Tyreek had on that touchdown to Benford, tied the game at 21 in the early fourth quarter stages was really, really impressive. That was prime Tyreek, and then the flip and everything. So that was really nice. Waddle came alive at the end of the half. He had that touchdown catch with 5 seconds left in the first half as his first catch of the game. And then in the second half, he had a lot of big third down conversions. I think he had 3 or 4 catches in the second half on 3rd down to move the 6. He had a big 3rd and 7 sideline completion from Tua, and then later on in the drive had a big 3rd and 4 sideline completion from Tua. Ultimately, that drive led to a pick, which of course is what everyone's talking about right now. I just don't really care. I don't really care that Tua threw a pick. Maybe that's tone deaf of me to say. I just don't care. It's irrelevant to me that he threw a pick. If he scored a touchdown, we lose the game. If he throws a pick, which he did, then we lose the game. Exhibit A is literally last year's game in Orchard Park, where Tua led us down the field with the exact same amount of time left and scored a touchdown. I mean, it's literally the exact same thing as last year in Buffalo. Instead of it being 28-21, which is what tonight was, it was 27-20. And Tua let us down and scored a touchdown with literally 2 minutes to go, I believe, or maybe 1:50. And guess what? We left Josh Allen with 2 minutes and multiple timeouts. That would have been the exact same scenario tonight had Tua even scored there. It would have been 28-28 with 2.5 minutes and change or whatever it was. Maybe we bleed the clock down to the 2-minute warning. Who knows? But at the end of the day, Josh Allen was going to get the ball last. So we would have lost either way. And you saw the final score was 31-21. So even up 7, Josh got him right down the field goal range to ice the game officially. But if it was tied, we obviously know what would happen. The defense stepped up in the second half. They were not stopping Josh Allen in a 2-minute situation in a tie game. We know that. And I'm still giving them credit for stepping up tonight in the second half, but they were obviously not going to stop Josh Allen in the 2-minute drill. They never do that. So ultimately, though, yeah, I mean, it's just tough when Zach Sealer, one of your best players, who's really been bad this year. I mean, he's done nothing through 3 games. I don't want to totally dunk on Zach Sealer, but he has not done anything through 3 games outside of rough a punter to essentially cost us the game if it was winnable. That made it no longer winnable. So it's obviously it's very, very frustrating. The Dolphins are 0-3. There is no one fix to this team. It's nice to see that they fought for McDaniel tonight. They played a competitive football game. They could have easily not played a competitive football game. But they tend to do this from time to time. They tend to, when their backs are really, really, really against the wall, play very competitively in a loss. Which makes me think that this is not a game where you can, build wins off of it because they lost close to Buffalo. I don't foresee that happening. Now, they do have the Jets and Panthers as their next 2 games. So if they win 2 games in a row, it wouldn't shock me. But it wouldn't make me be like, oh, the Dolphins have turned a new leaf. They played competitively in Buffalo, and that was the start of the turnaround. No, that's not happening. You guys might have fallen for that last year when they lost competitively to Buffalo and fell to 2-6. They did rattle off wins against the Rams, Raiders, and Patriots. 2 of those teams are really bad. Ultimately, they are who they are at this point. I mean, we've seen enough of this. I don't really understand what most of the fan base is like expecting with this team. This is by and large. Well, defensively, it's totally different. It's totally new. But it's by and large the same guys every year. And people are shocked why we lose the exact same way every year to Buffalo. So it's because by and large, it's the same guys. It's Mike McDaniel. It's Tua. It's Tyreek. It's Waddle. It's, a few guys on the offensive line that are healthy. It's Achane. Defensively, it's Chubb. It's Phillips. It's Sealer. I mean, it's by and large the same core guys. Now, you don't have Ramsey anymore. You don't have Jonnu anymore. You don't have Ginkle, Wilkins, Robert Hunt. So, you lose the homegrown talent, of course. But it's by and large the same guys. And then you're facing the same guys for Buffalo. It's Josh Allen. It's Dalton Kincaid. It's James Cook. It's Spencer Brown. It's Deion Dawkins. That offensive line is insane for Buffalo. And for the Bills defense, it's Teron Johnson. They were without Matt Milano. They were without Ed Oliver, but it's usually the same guy. Greg Rousseau. It's the same guys for Buffalo. They're always making plays. Bernard, Benford. And people wonder why we lose to Buffalo the exact same way every year. There's always one competitive one against the Bills where we really actually just randomly show up and decide to play good football. That was tonight. And then there's usually one game where we get blown out of the field. Last year was week 2 on Thursday Night Football. We got blown out, I believe, 31-10. Came back later in the year, played Buffalo close in Orchard Park, lost 30-27. Year before that, obviously, we played them close at home for the division title, week 18. We lost 21-14. Then we played them obviously earlier in the season in Buffalo, lost 56-20 or whatever it was. Got smoked. That was on the heels of we were 3-0. We had actually beat Denver 70-20, and everyone loved the Dolphins. And then we obviously got our teeth kicked in by Buffalo the following week. So there's always one blowout against the Bills. There's always one close game against the Bills. This one appears to be the close game against the Bills. Glad to see they put on a nice effort on primetime. Ultimately, it does not change my opinion on the team. They're 0-3. They're the only 0-3 team in football. They're not a playoff team, obviously. So you can bet that. But overall, nice to see that they put up a good performance. They'll get the mini bye and they will prepare for the Jets on Monday Night Football a week and a half from now. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we will be back throughout the week. If any other Dolphins news comes up or if we just feel like talking about something totally different. If there's any changes that get made, I don't think there will be. But if there is, I'll obviously hop on and talk about it. But overall, thanks for listening into this episode of the Dolphins versus Bills instant reaction breakdown. And appreciate it. Peace out, guys.